Your dreams are bigger, bolder, and more badass than the life you're living now, but something just keeps getting in the way. Join certified coach and former therapist Diane Wingert for the Driven Woman podcast. She'll show you how to get rid of whatever is holding you back so you can stop spinning your wheels and up-level your life. Get ready to hop in and buckle up. This is the Driven Woman podcast, and we're heading for the fast lane.
Hello, 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 my fellow driven women and those aspiring to kick their drive into high gear. I can't believe we are already on episode 24. Do you know what that means? It means there's just one more to bring about the end of season 1. But fear not, I will not leave you hanging for many months while you forget all about the juicy goodness of season 1 and wait, probably not so patiently, for season 2. Oh no, I'm going to keep right on rolling. And as of the following week, November 3rd, we are going to kick off season 2. What's the difference? Well, actually, I'm glad you asked. In season 2, I'm going to introduce several more types of episodes. You're going to continue to hear plenty of short and sassy solo episodes from yours truly. But starting in season 2, you're also going to hear some very special and very carefully selected driven woman guests. I'm also going to be running a contest where I will select 5 female entrepreneurs from among the driven woman audience who want to be coached by me on a single problem in their business or life. They will be recorded and released as podcast episodes. I think it's a great way to learn from one another, don't you? I'm also going to be running some Ask Diane Anything episodes. Well, what that means is that on the SpeakPipe widget on my website, you can literally ask me anything you want. There's very little that's off limits in my life at this point, and I'm willing to answer anything. So stay tuned for those. Now, as we continue to wrap up season 1, I am definitely committed to continuing to read Pod Praise, one of my podcast reviews, each and every week. This week, I'd like to share the review from Jillian Sisley, who I first found when I read a lovely blog post of hers on Medium. As it turns out, Jillian and 2 of her close friends are not only bloggers, they're also podcasters, and they have a fabulous brand. The podcast is called Fearless, She Spoke, and their writing is Fearless, She Wrote. Isn't that brilliant? I love the branding. Well, as it turns out, Jillian had something nice to say about the Driven Woman podcast. Here it is. A female solopreneur's must-listen-to podcast. As a solopreneur myself, Diane's valuable insights and pep talks on the Driven Woman podcast are the perfect pick-me-up to send me off ready to take on the day and make it count. Her relatable wit and undeniable expertise are everything a female entrepreneur needs to hear. It's a tough world out there for female entrepreneurs, and Diane Wingert makes the perfect guide along the way as we build our empires and make our mark. Well, Jillian, I can't thank you enough for that glowing praise, and thank you for letting me know I hit the mark with you, because that is exactly what my plan is for the Driven Woman podcast. It is a tough world out there, and I want to give you some information, inspiration, and sometimes a kick in the rear if that's what you need. So, and by the way, don't forget to check out Fearless, She Spoke. It's a fabulous conversation between 3 very sharp, very smart, and very driven women. You don't want to miss it. So without further ado, I bring you episode 24, which I called The Way Women Win. Can I just say how much I love spinning classes? Love them. When I lived near Pasadena, California, and I was a devoted member of Breakthrough Fitness, shout out to Phil and Michelle Dozois, the owners, I would take their momentum spinning classes at least 4 or 5 times a week. Now that I live in Portland, Oregon, the spinning classes at my new gym are not quite as fabulous. Sorry, guys, but I still love them. And I still go multiple times a week. One of the instructors, ex-Navy, super disciplined, uses all the correct terminology for the muscle groups and even the parts of the spinning bike. While I appreciate my other favorite instructor's humor and casual demeanor, it is the ex-Navy dude that makes me work because he's so focused. And that really inspires me to rise to the occasion when I'm in his class, especially when I make the effort to get there at 5:30 a.m. This ex-Navy dude often plays videos of international triathlons on the big screen during his spinning classes. And this morning was no exception. Now, I must admit that I usually tune them out, especially after I've seen them once or twice. I so much prefer it when the instructor plays music videos. The ones from Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake, Pink, and Bruno Mars add just the right boost to my ride. And I enjoy both listening and watching them during my workout. This morning, though, it was the Mallorca Triathlon. First the men's and then the women's competition. Now, as I said, I ordinarily tune them out and just listen to the music playing in the background, but for some reason, I was really actually paying attention, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm definitely not the sentimental type, and any of you who know me in real life know that. And I rarely, if ever, tear up. But what I observed this morning kind of got to me, and I even found myself dabbing at the corners of my eye at the end of class. And it wasn't because my contacts were bothering me this time. All of the athletes who compete in triathlons are just incredible to watch. They are the epitome of healthy, lean, fit bodies, able to shift rapidly between swimming, running, and cycling. These young men and women excel in not one, but 3 different sports. And you can just tell how serious they all are. Every one of them is in superior physical and mental condition. It's so inspiring. Now, the men's race was really close, but there was almost 15 seconds between the winner and the second man to cross the finish line. The first 2 to finish each walked off their fatigue by walking around in circles, accepted bottles of water from a volunteer, shook hands with various onlookers who clustered around the finish line. And while the next few men to finish crossed the line, the first 2 were each off by themselves doing their own individual cool-down routine. They'd given an impressive performance and were truly a joy to watch. I didn't really think anything about the way they behaved at the end of the race, until a few minutes later when the camera shifted to the end of the women's race. What I saw next is the reason I finished my spinning class in tears. There were 2 female athletes in the lead for most of the race, with a fairly significant gap between them and everyone else. These 2 front runners were literally inches apart, changing places every half minute or so. First one of them in the lead, closely followed by the other, and then the reverse. I guess that's probably why I was actually paying attention, because it was really quite riveting. They represented 2 different countries and appeared to be about the same height, weight, physical conditioning, and age. They probably could have been sisters or at least cousins. They were so similar in appearance. The woman in yellow had a serious expression, while the muscles of the face of the woman in pink seemed relaxed. The race was literally neck and neck, and I began to wonder, which of these 2 women is actually going to win? Once the finish line was in sight and they were side by side, running as fast as they possibly could, the woman in yellow stretched out her arms and grabbed the fabric of the finish line, as did the woman in pink, no more than a second later. They both continued to run, each of them holding different sections of the fabric for more than a few seconds. Then the woman in pink gently let the fabric slide from her hands, acknowledging that she was not the winner. What happened next both surprised and reminded me of what I love most about being a woman, especially an ambitious, competitive, and successful one, a driven woman. The woman in pink turned to her rival and hugged her with a genuine smile and look of admiration and respect on her face. She reached for 2 wet towels from a nearby volunteer, gently laying one of them across the back of the other woman's neck before doing the same with her own. Then she accepted 2 bottles of water from a different volunteer, handing one to the winner and then opening and downing her own. They embraced again briefly and then began a conversation full of smiles and pats on the back from both sides. The camera panned out to the race and the next few women crossing the finish line. There was one female athlete who had already finished and was enthusiastically cheering others on who were approaching the end of their race. They weren't winning, and she hadn't either. But at that moment, when I looked at her face on that great big screen in front of me, it seemed to me that it didn't matter. These women were celebrating one another, not just their own performance and outcome. It seemed to me such a stark contrast to the way the men's race ended that I found myself feeling profoundly grateful that this time I hadn't tuned out. Now, maybe all ambitious and competitive women don't behave this way. I am very idealistic, but I've had enough of life's experiences under my belt to know it's simply not so. But there was something deeply humbling to recognize that there is no inherent contradiction between wanting to be a winner and honoring your competitor. It's one of the reasons why I'm actually excited to see so many women going into business for themselves at this time in human history. And this includes those who are in direct competition with me for clients, for reputation, and all that goes with it. Women are still facing discrimination in the business world, and while the glass ceiling was cracked, it's not broken. I believe entrepreneurship holds promise for women that the corporate world has failed to fulfill, but it is not easy. I've seen many women holding the door open for others as they pass through, and I believe the abundance mindset is alive and well among most females I know. There may be only one winner in a triathlon, but there is truly enough success and abundance for everyone who is willing to do the work, develop the discipline, and maintain the persistence required to get there. I guess maybe my ex-Navy dude has influenced me a bit. I love the expression, a rising tide lifts all boats. The 2 women I watched this morning clearly understand that. And that is the kind of entrepreneur I choose to be. Hey, I hope you're enjoying listening to the Driven Woman podcast and looking forward to each new episode every Tuesday. Are you ready to take our relationship to the next level? Visit my website at dianewingertcoaching.com. I have a weekly blog. There's a quiz you can take to find out what your ADHD signature strength is, and some other freebies like the 6 Steps to ADHD Mastery or the Driven Woman Roadmap Fast Track to Success. And if you're ready to get serious about going from spinning to winning and taking yourself from driven but distracted to focused, fired up, and flame retardant, you should definitely sign up for a free consultation. We'll spend 30 minutes talking about where you are, where you want to be, and whatever's getting in the way. I won't try to sell you if you're not right for coaching, and I'm not the right one for you. But if you are, this might be the best way to make 2021 your best year ever. Want to hear from someone who's actually worked with me? Have a listen to my client, Rachel.
I didn't have you helping me along the way to understand a lot of this stuff. The meds would have been a waste for me, a complete and total waste. I would have had a little bit more energy maybe, but still the habits, whatever. There's no magic pill. It's always going to be something I'm going to have to work on. And I am understanding that and being okay with that and just kind of working through that and thinking and being intentional and stopping myself and doing all of the things for the first time in my life. I'm going to tell you right now, the meds have allowed me to slow stuff down enough that I've never been this effective at anything cognitive ever in my life. But I've also never had it explained to me by somebody who understands what's going on in my head either.
You've been listening to the Driven Woman podcast with Diane Wingert. Want more straight talk and strategy each week that will take you from spinning to winning? Don't forget to hit subscribe in your podcast player so you won't miss a single episode. Then head on over to the Driven Woman free and private Facebook group community. See you there.